Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to Western Liberty Network's weekly Saturday training. My name is Richard Burke. I'm the Executive Director of Western Liberty Network. These trainings are held every Saturday at 1 o'clock Pacific time, and they can always be reached through the links and passcode information provided on the westernlibertynetwork.org website. Right now I've got everyone muted. I believe everyone's muted. You are welcome to participate as much as you'd like. If you want to speak, you can unmute yourself. When you're done speaking, go ahead and remute yourself, and that way we'll avoid any audio feedback or other audio issues. A couple of things I have to get through before we start. First of all, is for those of you who are new, Western Liberty Network is an organization that consists of myself, a board of directors, an advisory committee, and numerous volunteer trainers. I'm doing the training today, but we have other people doing training during other Saturday trainings and also in conferences. WLN's purpose is to help activists reweave the fabric of our political culture by empowering them to take control of their own governance. WLN does this by building farm teams of trained local nonpartisan office holders, citizen advocates, and campaign volunteers. WLN trains activists who use their training for the campaigns and causes they care about, whatever they may be. If you would like to support Western Liberty Network, go to the westernlibertynetwork.org website and go to the support tab. All contributions to WLN are tax deductible. Now for the legal disclaimer, gotta have that. Western Liberty Network is a 501c3 organization, is an educational foundation. As such, we do not endorse or oppose any political party, candidate, even the ones we train, ballot measure, or legislation. The statements and other forms of information provided by our guest presenters and participants are entirely their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Western Liberty Network. Once again, I'll ask you to unmute yourself if you want to speak, remute yourself when you're done speaking. I'd like this training to be interactive. If you have a comment to add, or if you have a question, go ahead and fire it off. I see somebody has entered the chat session. First of all, can everyone hear me? I got a message from Mary Morehouse saying that she cannot hear me. Can you nod or wave your hand and let me know if you can hear my voice? Okay, I'm getting responses that people can hear me, so that's good. Okay, very good. We always have a couple of glitches. Okay, so today the training I'm going to provide has to do with effective campaigning with little or no money. This is going to consist of a series of things you can do which cost very little money or no money. It's not an exhaustive list, but I think it'll get you started. The idea is to encourage everyone to run for a local nonpartisan office, encourage them to do so or find someone who's willing to do so. I think that with respect to advancing limited government, it is much better if limited government activists hold office than if big government activists hold office, and then we try to lobby them not to do the things that are bad for limited government. So first of all, I'm going to talk about letters to the editor. Letters to the editor, we've all heard of them. I'm hoping that everyone here, we've got 4 more people coming in. That's good. Okay, we've got more people coming in. We have 18 participants now. I'm starting with letters to the editor. What I always encourage people to do is write letters to the editor and get people to write letters to the editor on your behalf if you are running for local nonpartisan office. The letters should be very, very short. I always encourage people to write letters this way. Dear editor, first line, tell them what you want them to do. I write this letter in support of Michelle Binker for school board or whatever she's running for, if anything. Okay. One line as to why. Michelle Binker has experience related to the job and has high integrity, which is actually 2 reasons. Try to do 1 reason. And then the 3rd line, for this reason, I urge everyone to vote for Michelle Binker. And then sign your name. And when you sign your name, provide some kind of a title, because it's not just important what your name is. The important is who you are that people should listen to your opinion. So if you are a member of a service club, if you're a member of the Optimists or the Kiwanis, or you're a member of some other kind of organization, or if you're a PCP, put down member, comma, and then whatever the organization is. You've got to be sure you put down member, because that way it's clear you're speaking on behalf of only yourself, and you're not speaking on behalf of the larger organization that you are claiming membership of. One other thing you can do is you can say at the very beginning, "Dear editor, in my opinion, everyone should vote for Michelle Binker," or whoever the candidate is. Thereby you are showing that it is your opinion. And again, you're not speaking on behalf of the group. But if you do that, you say, "Dear editor, line 1, I encourage everyone to vote for Michelle Binker." Line 2, a reason why. That is, she has experience relative to the job, or whatever the reason is. The third line, tell them again, "And for this reason, everyone should vote for Michelle Binker." And then fourth, sign your name, Richard Burke, member, Hillsborough Optimist Club. This does several things. It keeps the letter extremely short. And if it is short, it is more likely to get published, and it can't really get edited or sliced and diced. Find out all of the newspapers that have letters to the editor. They usually have online forms. They're different with every newspaper. You can submit the letter, and that's fine. If you want to say more than one reason, have somebody else submit a similar letter to the editor, but with a different reason. A lot of people don't take newspaper subscriptions anymore, but the ones who do vote in high percentages, particularly with local races. So it's important that you take advantage of letters to the editor for anything that you do. Another thing I encourage people to do is call talk radio shows. Lars Larson has something called Freedom Friday, or First Amendment Friday. In different parts of the state, in different parts of the city. There are other things too, like KUIK used to have a number of talk shows in the Hillsborough area. They've changed their format. I'm not sure what they're doing now, but there are a lot of radio stations in localities all over the state that have call-in shows. And what you can do is something very similar with letters to the editor. You call in, a producer will ask you what you want to say. And I'm going to pick on Michelle some more. I'm going to say, if Michelle's on a call, it looks like she left. But anyway, if she is running for office, I would say, I want to support Michelle Binker for school board. And then when you get on, do the same thing. Say, "I'm here because I support Michelle Binker for school board." And then one reason why. I think Michelle has experience that's relative to the job, and for this reason, everyone should vote for Michelle Binker for school board. Then hang up. You can't argue with somebody if they hang up. And if they're friendly, if you know it's a friendly host, stay on and chat a little bit. It's like a free commercial. But if you're not sure if they're a friendly host or not, just use that same technique. Get on the air, say, "I'm here because I want to support Michelle Binker for school board. She has experience relative to the job, and for this reason, I think everyone should vote for Michelle Binker," and then hang up. That's another thing you can do. You just got yourself a radio ad. One of the things I like to do is a bulletin board campaign. A lot of grocery stores, Walmart, places like that, near the restrooms or somewhere else, bagel shops, they've got a community bulletin board that you can put anything up. Some of them don't like political things. Some of them don't mind, but find out all of the, explore all of the bulletin boards in your area and put up a small poster, like half of an 8.5 by 11 sheet. Like to take an 8.5 by 11 sheet like this, make it so there are 2 posters on each one, cut them up. They're not too big. Put them on bright paper, and then post them everywhere. Now, the management on some of them might take them down, but how many people will see them before they come down? Those kind of things are very important. You just start spreading your name around. It costs very little money. You can probably do it on your home printer and go from there. Another thing you can do is look for endorsements. Talk to local office holders. mayors, city councilors, other school board members, park and rec people, water board people, whoever you think might be influential in your community, ask for a meeting with them and then ask them for an endorsement. If they will endorse you, that's going to be good for your campaign. If you have a campaign website, and you should, we'll get to that a little bit later, you'll be able to put down Joe Blow endorses, me for school board. There's also an endorsement form you can use if you want to put them in a voter pamphlet statement and include them as a listed endorser. You can get that from your county election office, an endorsement form. But if you can get some local office holders to endorse you, that helps lend credibility to your campaign. That's especially helpful if you've never run for office before. One thing you can do is hold a voter registration drive. This takes some effort. It takes a little bit of organization. You can do it with a few friends, and you can set up a voter registration drive. Now, most places where you can set up a voter registration booth, they will not let you campaign for a particular person, but if you're a candidate, you can shake a lot of hands. You can meet a lot of people as you're registering them to vote. You can sometimes set up a voter registration booth in front of a library or in front of a shopping area. Management will let you set up a booth. Just tell them you're registering people to vote. It can be a nonpartisan effort. If you're running for local nonpartisan office, it's nonpartisan anyway. And then you can meet people, shake their hands as they're registering to vote. Door to door is always good. When I ran for local school committee in the Beaverton School District, I knocked on almost every door in my particular district. I just knocked on the door, and if they opened it, I said, "Hi, my name is Richard Burke. I'm running for the local school committee in the Terra Linda school zone, and I hope I'll have your vote." Most of the time, they'll say thank you and close the door. Sometimes they'll engage you in a little bit of conversation. Don't engage in too much conversation, because your goal is to cover as much ground as you can, not get bogged down in a 20-minute conversation at a doorstep. But the idea is you're getting your name out there, you're meeting people, you're learning about the district, what you need to do, and you really don't have to do much more than that. Just knock on doors and say, "Hi, my name is Richard Burke," or whatever your name is. "I'm running for whatever I am, and I'm hoping you'll give me your vote." Now, it's a little tougher in this COVID era because people don't necessarily like that. But what you can do is you can knock on the door and then step back 3 or 4 spaces. And when they open the door, you can tell them what you want. Of course, while COVID's going on, although it pains me to say so, it's probably a good idea if you wear a mask and all of that. But if you step back so you're not in people's right at their door jam, you knock on the door, then you step back a few steps, they open the door, you'll usually have no problem at all. And tell them what you're running for, ask them for their vote. No more than that. And try not to get bogged down in a big in a big long conversation. I always encourage people to go to town hall meetings and set up retirement center presentations. Elderly people, they vote in high percentages, and they like personal contact. And at a lot of retirement centers, the people who put on programs to keep them entertained, to give them things to do, they're often desperate for content. They want to, they're just desperate to have a video game night or a exercise thing or a piano thing. I mean, they're always looking for something to occupy their time. You can ask them if they are having any kind of a candidate fair, or if they're not, if you would like to make a presentation. Every once in a while, you'll get a little bit of resistance. "No, we don't do anything political." To that, you can say, "Well, this is a nonpartisan race. It's not about party or anything like that." Sometimes that'll get you by, sometimes not. But occasionally you'll get people say, "Yeah, come and do a presentation." They might ask your opponent, if you have one, to come as well and have a debate. That's fine, but you might get it by yourself. I've seen that done in a lot of ways. There are organizations that go to these retirement centers and town hall meetings to help people vote. why not go to inform them about your candidacy? You'll learn about another demographic, what their concerns and interests are. You will also probably get them to vote for you because you took the time to see them, and that goes a long way with elderly people. Before I continue, are there any questions thus far? Or any comments? Fire district, not school board. Michelle tells me that she's running for the fire district, and I knew that. I was doing an example, so I apologize. I'll say fire district for the rest of the example, but that's good. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? If people are thinking about running for a local nonpartisan office or campaigning for somebody who is, I'd like to get some idea of the races that you're running for. I know Michelle is running for a fire district. So in the chat window, if you can put down what you're running for or what you're hoping to do with this information, that's really helpful. I have a question from Holly. Holly asks, when going door to door, is there benefit to leave a postcard or something? That's an excellent question. If you're going door to door and they're not home, yes, leave a postcard. A lot of times there's an outer door. You can insert it and close it on that, close it on the literature piece. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll roll it up and I'll stick it underneath the handle of the door, if that works. Sometimes if I roll it up, there's enough tension that wants to unroll, you can stick it between the doorknob and the door jamb. That sometimes works. Got a couple of things here. I'm running for school board, Holly Grove says. What district are you running for? Holly, where are you? Helping with school board, Rachel says. Michelle says, pick on me. That's cool. Thank you, Michelle. I should have asked you beforehand. I apologize. YCRP chair, James is running for. That's good. Holly suggests refrigerator magnets. If you can afford a refrigerator magnets, sure, absolutely. That costs a little bit more money, and I'm trying to focus on things that cost very little or no money. But if you have a budget for that, that's great. We also have another training on writing a campaign plan, which includes a campaign budget. If you're going to do more than just run a very simple low budget race, then you will need that. Rod Cooper is running for the school board and sisters, city council and PTA possibly. And Middleton says, Holly Grove says District 21 in the Dalles. Excellent. Carolyn says she was a volunteer in Dick Anderson's campaign and threw my hat in the ring for Lincoln City Council. Amanda and Matt Rowe worked on those campaigns, and they are WLN graduates too. Mary, school board with Molly. This is fantastic. Linda Dillon, Klamath Falls, running for the community college board. This is fantastic. And a whole bunch new messages. We've got a lot of people on today. We've got 19 people on, and that's just fantastic. Now, one thing I want to encourage everybody to do, and this is not free, is submit a voter pamphlet argument. It's not too late to do that. If you are running for office and your county has a voter pamphlet for your position and they include your position, you must file a voter pamphlet statement. It goes to every post office, or it goes to every address of every registered voter. And polls show that over 30% of the people who vote decide who they're going to vote for based on what is in the voter's pamphlet. So it's really important that you do that and that you get a photograph. If there's a voter, if your county allows you to file a voter pamphlet statement for your position, you get a chance to put in a picture and you get a chance to put in 300 words. So get a good picture. It's worth it to spend a little money to get a professional headshot made of yourself. You can use it for all kinds of things. If you are running for something again, you can use it. If you get elected, you can use that picture to represent you on the district board of the board that you are elected to. It's good professionally. It makes sense to get a professional headshot done where you look professional and people can imagine you serving in elected office, and do a voter pamphlet statement. In some counties, they're only like $35 to do. Other counties, it's more. It has the differences. How big is the district? They're going to cost a little bit more. And counties will have different prices depending on where you go. It's not as standardized as the statewide voter pamphlet statements for like statewide offices or state legislative positions. But if there is a voter pamphlet available, if there's a spot for a voter pamphlet statement and you do not file one and your opponent does, you will lose. One of the elections that I ran for a water board seat, and my opponent did not file a voter pamphlet statement or a photo. I did. I got 60% of the vote, even though my opponent was the incumbent. It is that important. So find out from your county election office if you are able to file a voter pamphlet statement for your race. And if you are, get a professional photo done and put in a voter pamphlet statement. If you want to, you can contact me separately about how to write a voter pamphlet statement. I've written many of them in my day, and I would be more than happy to help any of you who would like assistance writing a voter pamphlet statement. I also recommend that people do sign campaigns. Signs are very important. I used to have this sign that said, Burke for local school committee. And I would go to businesses and I would ask if I could stick it in the window. Some businesses would say, no, I don't like to put anything political in my window. You can say, well, this is a nonpartisan position. They might let you do it. Or they might say, sure, go ahead, put it in the window, no problem. It really makes sense to do that. Another place where you can put signs is in apartment complexes. If you go to apartment complexes, you'll find that a lot of them have places where people do their laundry. Now, I know a lot of apartments have, there's a laundry machine in every apartment, but others, you've got to go to a central location to do your laundry. And I always would put a sign up on top of each washing machine and in front of each dryer. Sometimes they'll get taken down, sometimes not. I remember when I ran for local school committee, I put some on top of a dryer in an apartment complex. And I actually moved 3 years later into that complex and the signs were still there. So a lot of times they'll be up for a while, cost very little money. I would just go into the apartment complex, don't ask for permission, drive around, look for laundry facilities, stick it up there. Everyone's got to wash their clothes, right? And everyone's going to see your sign if it's up there. If somebody comes and tells you to leave, just go ahead and say thank you very much and leave. But that is a way to get a lot of exposure for very little money. Then, of course, we've got desktop activism. Everyone is on social media right now. If you've on Parler, if Parler's back up, I think, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you have. Get a couple of pictures on your phone of you talking with somebody at a doorstep. Just sort of do a chronography of your race and do posting on all of your social media outlets and let people know that you're running. Have a website that you can go to. Make sure that the website is on your literature that you hand out. There are a lot of different things you can do. One thing that I recommend people do is if a meeting is being held and it's being covered by public access television, go and testify during open communications. Open communications is a time on the agenda where you can talk about things that are not on the agenda. And, for example, I might go to the Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue Board, although I'm running for water district. And during open communication, I could come up and say, hello, everyone. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Richard Burke. I'm running for a commissioner position on the Tualatin Valley Water District Board of Commissioners. And I'm here tonight because I understand, that we all have to work together. This is a fire board. I'm running for a water board. Obviously, that goes together in difficult times when people's homes are on fire or natural disasters. And I think it's very important that the different local governments that we have work hand in glove to make sure that people are safe. Just say something like that, less than a minute. And if it's on public access television, you just got a free TV ad. Sometimes there'll be a reporter in the audience, and they might come up to you and say, that's interesting. I've never seen anyone do a campaign speech at open communication before, and maybe you'll get a mention in the paper. There might be somebody in the audience who says, I like what you said. How can I help? I've seen all of these things happen. Sometimes none of them happen, but I've seen all of these things happen at one time or another. And despite what people think, folks do watch these public access television. I remember once when I had my party, the Libertarian Party, had an office in downtown Beaverton. Every year, the city of Beaverton would have a parade around the 4th of July, which went right past our office. And so I went outside just to watch the parade. I was just standing on a street corner watching the parade go by, taking a break from work. And a McDonald's float went by. And on there was somebody dressed up like Ronald McDonald. And he pointed at me out of nowhere and he said, hey, you're that commissioner guy on TV. Okay, that was weird. Things like that don't always happen. But what it taught me is that people do watch these programs. And so if you do that, you're going to, if you talk to other boards and use open communication to make them aware of your candidacy and your desire to work with them, you will do several things. If it's covered by public access television, you will get a free advertisement. You might get an interview with a newspaper person if they happen to be there and are intrigued by what you say. You might get a volunteer if someone's in the audience and they like what you say. You will make yourself known to the board, and you'll start to build a network of local officials who know you, so that when you win, you'll be able to expand on this network. Part of changing who runs this state is going to be changing who is elected. And to change who is elected, people who are running need to have networks of other public officials who will support them. They need to have networks of donors. They have to have networks of volunteers. And they have to have networks of media contacts. And so remember that when you're running for these local nonpartisan races, your primary objective, obviously, is to win the election. But you have secondary objectives too. Even if you don't win your election, if you campaign, you will find yourself with a network of volunteers who will be able to help you in the future, media contacts you can contact, they'll know who you are, local office holders who know who you are, and even if you lose, maybe if there's a vacancy on an appointed board, you might get asked to join that because they've heard of you and thought you ran a good race. Just get yourself woven in to the local fabric, and doing all of these things will help you do that. Letters to the editor is going to be a way to reach the people who read the newspaper. They're not many of them, but they vote. Use your social media. Call in talk radio shows. People will hear that. Use your bulletin boards. Lobby local officials. Have a meeting with them, ask them to support your campaign. Some of them will say yes, some of them will say no, but the ones who say yes, are gold. Hold a voter registration drive. You'll be shaking lots of hands. The voter registration, it gives you the excuse to interact. Okay, we've got some messages here. Let's see what else we have. Rod Cooper School Board Sisters, excellent. City Council and PTA possibly. Okay, District 21, the Dalles, we read that. Something about the magnet. Maybe running for LeGrand School Board. That's fantastic. If you run for LeGrand School Board, my advice to you is to write a campaign plan. We have additional trainings. I'm going to talk about other trainings in a second. I can get to them on demand. What would you recommend for increasing voter turnout? Something like 1,200 voters in my zone, but last time 20% turned out. That's a pretty typical number. When I ran for local school committee, I won, I was elected and reelected 4 times, and it was about 17 to 23% turnout in each of these elections. It's a curse because, a lot of people don't get out, but it's a blessing because if you get your people out, they will have a proportionally greater impact on those who do vote. And we do have a training on getting out the vote. I encourage people to do what I call a get out the vote individualized plan where you mobilize your personal network of friends, coworkers, and other people to make sure that they vote. I would coordinate with your county party, whether it's whatever party it is, contact your county party contact and ask them if they are doing a get out the vote campaign for the special election. Ask the state party if they are doing a get out the vote effort. I have never seen that happen. I think if it did happen, it would be extremely effective. See, great question also, great apartment idea. Thank you very much. If you also, if you knock on a lot of doors, the people who meet you will vote for you. A lot of folks get the ballot in the mail and they don't vote for a lot of the positions. They might vote for a couple of ones that they heard of, maybe a county commissioner position, something like that, but they just leave the rest of it blank. It's called an undervote. And if you introduce yourself to a lot of people and ask that you vote for them on the ballot, you will not have that. And even if election turnout is poor, your race, you will get a lot of the votes from people who do actually take the time to vote if you just introduce yourself. I'm in a very small area also, that's good. Gab also, I don't know what Gab means. Gab has cool user turnout for real comments, in my opinion. That's great. I don't know what the Gab tool is. Is this presentation being recorded so we can view it again? The answer is yes. We're recording this right now, and when the meeting ends, I'll probably 2 or 3 days later, I'll be able to post it and you can download it at your convenience. While I'm doing that, while I'm talking about that right now, I'm going to bring up my website and show you how to get the various resources that we have. We have 19 participants today. That's very good. Okay. My hard disk is cranking all over the place. Okay, I'm going to share a screen right now. This is the Western Liberty Network website. At the top, you see my happy face because I'm doing the training this week. We usually have guest trainers, and whatever the upcoming training is, we do this training every Saturday at 1 o'clock. We'll have the picture of whoever's providing the training and some information about that person. And of course, most of you clicked on this red button and that's how you got on. That's going to be there all the time. Now, if you want more training, go to the training tab here. And that will come up and you will see this. If this talks a little bit about the training that WLN provides. And these are photos of different training environments that we've had. But down here, you'll see companion training documents. Here you can get documents that provide training information on all of these various topics, components of a campaign plan, how to be effective in informal debates or discussions, the care and feeding of good volunteers. Some of you running for larger offices might need some volunteers. Effective campaigning with little or no money, that's what we're talking about today. If we click on that, there's a document that you can download off of Dropbox. It's coming up right now. And I'd encourage you all to visit the website and download that document. And I will also upload it using chat in just a second. Now, if you keep going down, this is where you'll find the recorded training sessions. Bill Dewey had one 2 weeks ago on the Oregon Citizens Lobby. Kim Thatcher did one on lobbying. I did another one. Tom Cox did one. We've got 13. I've got to get them up on the website. That's going to be one of my major projects this week, is to get them all up on the website. But these are all roughly 1 hour training sessions that you can do. And if you want to support Western Liberty Network, you can go to the Support WLN tab, and you can do one-time contributions or monthly contributions. This is very important. That keeps this whole thing churning. We never charge for training, except when we have events at hotels, because we've got to make the contract. The training is free, but if you can support us with a few bucks, that's always appreciated. and then back home. And I will stop the screen share now. I'm also going to upload in the chat window, if I can make it work. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to upload a file, that training document for today, but it's not working the way it used to. So I don't know how to do upload a file right now. Let me go to the top of the training and see if it lets me do it. So anyway, I will put the website here again. Okay, I've just put it up on the chat, so you can go to the westernlibertynetwork.org website, hit the training tab and scroll down to campaigning for little or no money, and you can download the training sheet for this training and whatever else you want to download. Now, this is just a list of tactics that you can use to advance your campaign that costs very little or no money. I don't pretend that this is, thank you for the compliment. This is not exhaustive. You might come up with ideas of your own. I encourage you to do so. And if you come up with a really good one, let me know so I can add it to this training. But if you do the things that are in this training, you will get more votes than if you did not do the things that are on this training, and increase your chances to win. And at this point, I would like to take questions or take comments from anyone who wants to make them. Just unmute your phone.
Yeah, I have a comment that might be a question.
Sure.
Yeah, name's Gregory, and I'm wondering what your opinion is about using a podcast to get a message out there. I haven't set up a podcast before, but I'm sure there are services that are free or very inexpensive. And the other side of it is maybe making inroads with people that host podcasts that might be in your area. Sure. Or people that might share that interest. I don't know. Do you have any ideas about that?
I do, actually. The problem with starting a podcast for a race like this is that it's a very short race. Filing deadline is in March. The election is in May. And the podcast is great if people know about it and people care enough to tune into it. So what I would recommend is finding out who has podcasts already, who is established already. These people already have an audience, and you won't have to build an audience from scratch. By the time you build an audience from scratch, especially if you have little or no money to advertise, by the time you build an audience, the election is going to be over. So I would recommend that you treat a podcast like a TV station news story, or an interview with a newspaper. Consider it earned or unearned media, or earned media. You're going out and getting the interview, but get it with an established podcaster is what I would recommend, rather than try to reinvent the wheel yourself. Holly suggests maybe do a Facebook Live video. I think that's maybe a better idea. It has some of the advantages of a podcast, plus you already have your own collection of Facebook friends. So you already have somewhat of an audience there established, and people can share information and expand on that. So that's a very good idea. But that was a really good question, Gregory. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have a comment or a question?
Up at the top, very top, very top.
Yes, I hear you. Christy and Rod Cooper?
Yes, I was just wondering, is there a significant difference between running a campaign for an open seat as compared to running a campaign against an incumbent?
Yes, actually it is. It's really tough to beat an incumbent for a local nonpartisan election unless there is a specific issue. People don't think about politics very much. Last time I saw a survey is they think about, the average person thinks about politics 5 minutes a week. And you can bet that if you're running for, the local mosquito control board, most of them aren't thinking about that even 5 minutes a week. So if you are running against an incumbent, the incumbent's got some advantages. They already have been in office for a while. They've got a network of supporters. They've got a network of other elected officials that they've worked with who are likely to endorse them. A lot of word of mouth. That's how it gets around. So if you have an incumbent that you're running against and you want to take them on, you've really got to put in a lot of shoe leather. If the incumbent is lazy and is not knocking on doors, and you are knocking on doors, that's going to give you a much better chance to beat the incumbent. If you have signs all around town and the incumbent is lazy, that's an advantage that a lot of people have when they do run against incumbents, is that incumbents for local nonpartisan offices are often very lazy. Like the person who I ran against didn't bother to file a voter pamphlet statement. A lot of them will not bother to do a sign campaign in laundry buildings of apartments or asking businesses to put a sign in their window. A lot of them won't do that. A lot of them won't be active on social media. A lot of them won't be knocking on doors. So if you are going against an incumbent, you really need to work hard. You can win against an incumbent, but you've got to put in the effort. Mary, I see a hand. I assume that means you want to talk. Go ahead, Mary. While we're waiting for Mary to unmute her microphone, does anyone else have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I have another one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when I was looking at the county that I think it's the voter database, you can actually get copies of if you, I think you buy, it's like $500 maximum. For the smaller races, do you think the counties have enough ability to give you your district? So you maybe, if you do have a little money, you could get your mailing addresses, or is that, I've never done it. So is it, can you get that out of them, or is it too specific of a question?
No, it's a good question. I'm dealing with things here that have little or no money, but if you have some money, you can buy a voter list from your county, and they should be able to provide a list of the people who are in your district. If you are a Republican, you can focus on talking to the Republicans, and you've got a point of contact with them. You knock on the door. Hi, my name is Rich Burke. I'm actually a libertarian, but if I was a Republican, I'd say I'm a Republican like you are, and I'm running for this office, and I hope you'll vote for me. That can be really helpful. I remember one time I did campaigning for a guy named Tim McHenry, and we did a door-to-door campaign, and we had a voter list, and we saw that, of course, some of them were Republicans, some of them were Democrats, some of them were non-affiliated or something else. And so we had 3 different flyers. School choice was a big issue that year. So, for the conservative households, we had a flyer that said parents should control the direction of their children's education. For the Democratic households, we had a flyer that said middle class and working class kids should have the same options that rich kids have. And for the independents or the non-affiliateds, we had one that said, we need more choices to reflect the diversity of our children's learning styles. You can do something like that if you have a list like that. What you will not get on the list typically are phone numbers. There is a space to put a phone number, and if the person registering to vote fills it in, you'll get the phone number. But almost none of them include a phone number, and almost none of them include an email address. But you will get their addresses, and you can ask the county if they can sort it in walking list format, so that if you're walking down the street, all of the people listed on the form are listed in the order that their homes exist on the street. So if you've got a few dollars to spend, the $500 is charged for every voter in the state. You'll get, however many, I think it's 2 or 3 million voters, you'll get that information. But the cost for list for smaller districts is much, much less. They usually go by the 100, and it's not that expensive. So if you have a few dollars to print out, go ahead and print out a list of all the people. You might find some people you know that you didn't realize lived in your area. You might be able to get them to volunteer for you or knock on doors with you. But yeah, that's definitely a good point. Okay, Mary, I see your picture now. Did you want to speak? I see your hand raised. Mary Morehouse?
Yes. So I have a question when it comes to, it kind of involves small voter turnout like we talked about, but it also involves, so for example, you're talking about going to all the public speaking events that you can and, meeting as many people as you can and social media and all that. How do you, with such small voter turnout, for example, I ran for the same seat last term and the incumbent did not get a majority of the votes, but because they had actually had someone else run who didn't, it was really a strange election. The incumbent didn't show up to anything. They didn't campaign. The third person running against each other or running against all of us didn't campaign. And I think the purpose was to strictly split that vote into thirds, which they did, allowing the incumbent to win, by like 3 votes or something.
Right.
How do we, in a small area like this, where you can only vote by zone, which I think is absurd in a school
Right.
district, but how do you account for something like that? How do you do everything you can to prevent that?
Well, there are a couple of things that I invite people to do. If you go to your county election office, you can ask them, what are all the positions that I'm eligible to run for? And you might see 5 or 6 positions that you can run for. And you can look, they have a list and they will show you who has filed to run for all of the positions. What I encourage them to do is if there are positions that nobody has run for, get paperwork for all of them. Go home, fill them all out. School board, water board, fire board, park and rec, whatever they are. Fill one out for each position with an emphasis on the ones where nobody has filed. And then show up at the filing office on the deadline day at 10 minutes to 5 and see if anyone has filed for any of these positions. And if you see one that nobody has filed for, throw those papers across the table. Or if you don't have one of those, look for a position where only one person has filed. Throw those papers across the table next. The skills required to be a good board member, whether you're talking about a fire board, a water board, a park and rec board, most of the time do not require a lot of technical skill. That skill is usually provided by the staff. What they need and why you're eligible to run for all of these positions, even if you're not a fire expert or a water expert or a certified teacher, what they need is good judgment and the ability to make good policy. So if you want to get on the bottom rung of the ladder and start climbing up, do that to get in. I encourage people to do that first, then run against, then run in a race where no one has filed, then run in a race where one person has filed, because you cannot control what they're going to do. If you file late, they're not going to throw a third candidate in just to foil you because they won't know that you're running until the end. You'd be amazed how many incumbents run unopposed for this reason. John Estill is joining us. So I don't know, does that make sense to you, Mary?
Well, yeah, that would have been great advice if I hadn't already filled out my paperwork. No, because that's exactly what happened. It was just me and the incumbent last term, and then the incumbent is not very well liked in the area, and they pulled somebody in at the last minute.
Yep.
But of course, for example, I've already put in my paperwork because this is the board seat that I want.
Right. Well, if they put in a third candidate, you're just going to have to work your butt off. You're going to have to find something that sets yourself apart from the other 2 candidates that will appeal to a lot of people. And you're just going to have to burn the shoe leather and get some volunteers. Maybe find a way to spend a little money to get your name out there. Because you're talking about a school board campaign. A lot of times they're more complicated. more costly, and it's a more of an uphill climb than water board or fire board or park and rec, especially if you live in a urban or a suburban area. But that's a very good point. You can overcome that hill. It's just a little bit harder. Does that help you, Mary?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. And if anyone wants to talk about any of this stuff when we're not in the Zoom call, feel free to call me at any time. I'm going to put my number up here. That's my telephone number, and if you want to call me after the training or as you're going through your campaign, I'm happy to put together additional trainings for you. I've trained individuals before, and I've trained small groups of people. I'm happy to get the information out. Does anyone else have a question or a comment today? Kathy Lynn, if you're the Kathy Lynn that lives in Southern Oregon, Douglas County-ish, haven't heard from you in a while. It's good to see you. Anyone else have a comment today or a question? Okay.
Yes, I didn't catch your phone number. I couldn't find it where you typed it in at. So I was just seeing if you.
Okay. I'll just tell you what it is. It's 503-970-1876.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, it's 1:52. If we don't have any more questions, we'll call it a day. Is there anything else for the good of the order, or are there any more questions today? Okay, that will conclude this training session. In a couple of days, it will be up on the website on the training tab of the westernlibertynetwork.org website, as I showed you before. You can download it at your convenience or watch it. It is a YouTube video, so it should be very easy to access. We will have another training next Saturday at 1 o'clock on how to become a local opinion leader. This is a good supplement to running for office. There are a lot of opinion leaders in each community, people who participate in service clubs or civic life, and how to become a good opinion leader. John Lapsley will be providing the training on that. And so I look forward to seeing all of you next Saturday at 1 o'clock. God bless and thank you very much.